My name is Meredith Lane, and the night I learned my $3,000 lesson started with me standing on a rainy Portland sidewalk, suitcase handle biting my palm, staring at a door that wasn't mine and a lock that wouldn't turn. The key I'd been given, silver, taped to a cheery post-it that said "Welcome home," wouldn't fit. On the other side of the door, warm light spilled across hardwood floors I'd memorized from the listing. I could even hear a kettle whistle and the soft thud of footsteps. I knocked, breathless with relief and nerves, and the footsteps stopped. Chain slid, deadbolt turned. A woman I'd never seen before peered through the gap and said, flat and wary, "Can I help you?" "My name is Meredith," I said, showing her the key like a magic trick that had gone wrong. "I'm the new tenant. I paid the deposit. Today was move-in." Her eyes narrowed the way people's eyes do right before a dog growls. "This unit isn't for rent," she said. "It's mine." She took in the suitcase, my hopeful face, the key in my trembling hand. "I think you've been scammed." The words thudded through me. I stood there, drenched, while my brain tried to reorder a reality that had felt so solid this morning. I had transferred the deposit, $3,000 I could barely spare, to a man named Alex who promised keys, a lease, a new start. He was my friend's boyfriend. He sent photos, a lease template, even a video tour, his voice narrating from my phone. South-facing light, quiet street, original built-ins. He'd met me for coffee with a smile that could sell rain to Portland. He'd handed me the key. I'd believed him because I wanted to. Because everyone told me he was safe. Because sometimes the fastest way to break a careful person is to make them trust on purpose. I don't remember how I got off that porch. The kind woman, her name was Felicity, I'd learn later, said she was sorry, that I should call the police, that this had been happening in the neighborhood. I nodded, dazed, and dragged my suitcase through slick streets back to my Honda, which held boxes labeled with optimistic Sharpie. Kitchen, books, clean slate. I sat in the driver's seat with the overhead light on and opened my banking app. The transfer was there, deducting from my balance like a wound. $3,000 to a Mercer, Memo Lane deposit, Cedar and 18th. A minute later my text messages stared back like receipts of my gullibility. Me. Can I swing by at 6 to move in? Alex, all set. Key under mat if I'm not there. Me, you're a lifesaver. Alex. We take care of our own, smiling face with smiling eyes. We. Our own. I put the phone face down on my thigh like it might bite me, and I pressed my palms to my eyes until sparks bloomed. I'd done everything right. I'd asked to see a lease, checked references, walked the block twice at different times of day. I'd known Alex for months through Cassie, who'd brought him to trivia nights and backyard barbecues, and once a small, sweet Thanksgiving in my apartment when flights were too expensive to go home. He laughed easily, washed dishes without being asked, showed me photos of the half-renovated duplex he managed for a friend. Cassie called him a hustler in a tone that meant admirable, not dangerous. And I, 33, competent, careful Meredith, wanted the apartment so much that I quieted the small inner voice that whispered every time he delayed a document, every time he forgot to answer a specific question. "Don't be paranoid," I told the voice. "Don't be one of those bitter single women who thinks everyone is out to get her. Be chill. Be trusting. Be part of a we." I put the car in drive and headed for my old place across town. The place I'd already given notice on. The place that smelled faintly of old coffee no matter how much I cleaned. Rain pinpricked the windshield. At a red light my phone lit up with a text from Cassie. "How's move-in? Send pics." I stared at the little bubble, like it might explode. My fingers hovered. Then I typed, "Can you call me?" And 3 dots pulsed, then nothing. In the parking lot of my building I sat, and let the radiator tick itself cool while my adrenaline drained, leaving a heavier thing behind. Shame. It spread like damp, crawling into the places you try to keep warm. My mind did the math on autopilot. $3,000. 2 months' rent, or my emergency fund, or the dental work I'd put off. The number sat there, factual and obscene. I unlocked my door, carried the small box I'd kept with me inside, and set it on the table. Inside was a framed photo of my mother and me on Cannon Beach. Hair ripped by wind, laughing. A mug I'd bought at a market in Eugene. A candle called First Day. I blew it out without lighting it. I dialed Cassie. She answered bright, unaware. Babe, did you move in? Is it cute? Alex said it was cute. Cass, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. The key didn't work. The unit is occupied. The woman who lives there said I was scammed. Silence hovered on the line, full of recalculations. That doesn't make sense, she said finally. Alex he wouldn't do that. He knows the guy who owns the building. Maybe you're at the wrong door. Cedar and 18th, I said. Unit 2. I was there. There is a person. It's not available. More silence, then a small crackling edge in her voice. Okay, I'll call him. This has to be a misunderstanding. I wanted to let her have the word misunderstanding the way you let a child sleep 5 more minutes before the alarm. I wanted the world to be the kind where a phone call fixed things. While she called him, I called my bank. A polite woman named April said the transfer was peer-to-peer, like cash. She said the word irreversible gently, like she was placing it on my table next to the candle and the photo. I called the non-emergency police line. A tired operator took a report, gave me a number, told me a detective would be in touch. She didn't sound like anyone would be in touch. Cassie called back 20 minutes later, breathless. He says it's a misunderstanding, she said, and I closed my eyes because of course he did. He says the landlord mixed up the units and he's sorting it. He's on his way there now. He said to wait. Wait. The command I've obeyed my whole life. Wait your turn. Wait for the right time. Wait until this is convenient for everyone else. I looked at the little clock glowing on my stove, 7:53 p.m., and pictured myself standing on a dark porch again, holding an imaginary key like a fool. I'm not going back there tonight, I said. Tell him to send me my money back. I'll find another place. Another silence, slower this time. Meredith, she said softly, it's already spent. He paid the owner. Who is the owner? I asked. What's his name? She inhaled. Exhaled. It's a guy from his gym, she said, and I almost laughed because of course it was. He doesn't remember his last name. Something inside me hardened into a thing with edges. I'd been here before, not with $3,000 and a false key, but with smaller betrayals that felt rational at the time. The ex who borrowed just until payday and unfurled a new tattoo on Instagram the next week. The friend who asked me to front costs for a group trip and never paid me back when everyone else did. The temp at work I trained who told our boss my project was hers because she needed the credit more. Each time I told myself I could afford it, in money, in time, in pride. I told myself being good would pay off somehow, the way banks promise interest if you just keep saving. Cass, I said carefully, I need his full name. I need his last name. I need the number he used to pay the owner. I need the address he thinks he rented. And I need it now. The edge in my voice startled us both. She slipped into defensive loyalty, like a hand into a coat. I'm sure he'll make it right. Don't go nuclear. It's not like you to be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, I said. I'm being robbed. That night I didn't sleep. I made tea and drank it cold because I forgot it on the counter. I scrolled back through every text I'd ever exchanged with Alex, every DM, every photo he'd forwarded. I saved screenshots until my phone warned me about storage. I printed the lease template he'd sent and laid it next to the real lease from my current place. A study in what care looks like versus what it mimics. His had a landlord signature block blank. No address for service, no legal description of the unit. I circled the line that required deposits be made in cash or instant transfer only. I circled the clause that said deposits were non-refundable. I circled the little typo in my name, Meredith, like a laugh in my face. And still, I had trusted it, because it came packaged in the voice of a man my friend kissed goodnight. At 3 in the morning, the ceiling patterns started to look like maps. I opened my laptop and typed Alex Mercer Portland into the search bar. A musician. A dentist. A graphic designer on LinkedIn with a smile that wasn't his. I added Cassie and scrolled through photos of them at Sauvie Island, at a Timbers game, at a bar with lavender neon. In the comments, people called them perfect, goals, power couple. I wanted to crawl into the screen and whisper to each heart-eyed friend, Check your wallet. I wanted to whisper to pass me. Ask for a real lease on paper, signed in front of you with a pen that runs out of ink. At 7, I showered and put on a black sweater and the red lipstick I wear when I need to look like I know what I'm doing. At 8, I was parked at Cassie's, because if a woman won't answer your questions over the phone, she might answer them in the kitchen she shares with a liar. She opened the door in slippers, eyes puffy. He's not here, she said, and there was a tremor in it that told me she was finally not sure. Where is he? I asked. He said he had to meet the landlord, she said. He turned off his location because his phone was dying. She said it like a child explaining why the moon sometimes looks like a bite has been taken out of it. She led me to the kitchen, pushed a mug of coffee into my hand out of reflex. The counter was scattered with the detritus of a shared life. Keys, a bowl of limes, a stack of unopened mail with Alex's name on top. I picked up one, an envelope from a bank I didn't recognize, and Cassie stiffened. Don't, she said. Cass, I said, soft now because I could see the cliff edge she stood on. I need his full name. I need any other names he uses. I need his Venmo handle. I need the number of the landlord he claims to know. And I need to know if he's done this before. She stared at the sink. I don't think so, she said, and her voice broke on think. He's had deals go sideways. He's tried things. He's had bad luck. Bad luck doesn't print fake leases, I said. Bad luck doesn't hand out the wrong key. Bad luck doesn't keep $3,000 when you say the word misunderstanding. Her shoulders slumped. His name is Alexander James Mercer, she said. But he sometimes he uses Alex Mason, because Mercer is his dad's last name and he hates his dad. His Venmo is at Portland Alex. He said to never tag him in anything for privacy. The landlord is a guy named Ron. I don't have a last name. I only saw the number once on Alex's phone when he put it on speaker. It started with 971. That was something. I wrote it all down in a neat list, because when I am afraid, I make shapes out of chaos. She watched me write and then whispered, "Please don't blow this up. I love him." The please sank into me like a stone. I had loved like that once too. A man named Paul who gave me his hoodie and his passwords, and then used both like shields. I remembered defending him to my mother, who pursed her lips and called it a phase as if love were a rash. I won't blow it up, I said. I will ask for my money back. If he returns it by tonight, I won't escalate. If he doesn't, I will escalate and I won't stop. She nodded, and in that nod was the weight of every woman who has ever begged another woman to be gentle with the man who hurt her. I drove straight from her house to my office, because I needed a printer and a quiet conference room, and the sense of my old life still existing somewhere in the world. I filed a formal police report online with everything I had. Transfers, texts, screenshots, the key taped to the post-it like a joke. I sent a demand letter to Alex by email and certified mail. A template I found on a consumer law site and edited with all the righteous clarity I could muster. Return $3,000 by 5 p.m., or I will pursue civil and criminal remedies. I copied Cassie. I copied myself. I copied the part of me that still wanted to cry on my kitchen floor. At lunch I walked down to the coffee shop where he'd met me with the key. The barista remembered him. Tall guy? Good hair? Left a 5 on a $3 Americano, she said. He was here yesterday with a folder. I asked if there were cameras. She pointed to a dome in the ceiling like a sad little planet. We don't share footage, she said, apologetic. But the police can ask. At 3:17 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. Meredith. It's Alex. Huge mix-up. I'm fixing it. Money's tied up with the owner. I can get it to you next week. A minute later. Maybe sooner. Another. You're overreacting. Cassie says you're threatening me. We're family. Don't do this. Family. We are not the same. I typed and deleted 3 versions of what I wanted to say, then sent. Return my money by 5. No exceptions. At 4:55, he sent a screenshot of a transfer processing. The amount was wrong, $300. He added a laughing emoji. 0 fell off, he wrote. Kidding. Chill. Something in me cooled so fast it felt like weather. I stopped bargaining in my head with the universe. I stopped picturing him sheepish and contrite. I opened a new document and titled it the $3,000 lesson. And I began writing a different kind of list. Names he used. Numbers he texted from. Photos that showed details he hadn't meant to reveal. A street sign reflected in a window. A stack of mail on a table in one of his videos that showed a forwarding sticker with a partial address. I paused each video and traced corners with my eyes, the way detectives do in shows I'd always assumed were exaggerated. By 6 p.m., a detective named Byrne called me back. He was careful, tempered. "These cases are hard," he said. "People hand over cash. They want to trust. We can log it. If we find a pattern, we can move." Pattern. I thought of Felicity's sorrowful face, the barista's certainty, the way Cassie had confessed bad luck. Scammers don't have bad luck. They have routes. I opened Facebook, typed in Portland housing scammers, and found a group with 12,000 people. I posted my story, redacted what needed redacting, and within an hour my inbox was filling with women who had met a man who sounded like mine. Different names. Same smile. Same phrases. "We take care of our own." All set. Key under the mat. Their sadness braided with mine into something else. Purpose. I made a spreadsheet, because of course I did. I added dates, amounts, the apps used, the handles. A pattern emerged like a bruise. Newer accounts created within weeks of the frauds, deposits routed to multiple names, sometimes Mercer, sometimes Mason, sometimes initials that looked like people he'd borrowed identities from. One message included a blurry photo of a hand holding a key. The thumb had a crescent-shaped scar. In one of my own videos, when he'd gestured at the original built-ins, I'd seen it too. The same scar. I pasted both images side by side, and felt my pulse steady. At 10, Cassie texted. "He's not home." He turned off his phone. I'm scared. So was I. Not of him. Fear had melted into a cleaner heat. But of the part of me that might once have forgiven this. That part is how men like Alex exist. Off-ramps of forgiveness at every mile. I turned off my lamp and watched the ceiling again. Maps sliding into plans. If you take $3,000 from a woman like me, you are not just poor. You are foolish. Because I am careful and I am kind and I am done. By morning, I had a plan that tasted like iron on my tongue. It wasn't cinematic. I wasn't going to scream in a lobby or break a window or beg at a door. I was going to twist the very tools he had used, image, trust, ease, until they snapped back on his wrists. He taught me the shape of his game. I was about to change the rules. I woke up that morning with an odd steadiness, like the storm had passed inside me and left steel in its place. The plan wasn't about getting every penny back. I had accepted by then that money in his hands was gone. But I could make sure Alex never ran this scam again. And I could make sure he paid in ways he never anticipated. The first step was exposure. He thrived on charm, on people believing he was one of them. Cassie's boyfriend, the funny guy at barbecues, the hustler, who was always working on something. That image was his currency. So I decided to bankrupt him. I compiled everything I'd gathered into a single document. Screenshots of texts, proof of transfer, side-by-side images of the scarred thumb, and testimonies from others who'd reached out to me. I included Felicity's story too. She let me use her name after she heard mine. At the top of the document I wrote in bold, "Alex Mercer is a serial rental scammer." Then I sent it everywhere. To my company's internal fraud list. To local neighborhood Facebook groups. To the Portland housing scammers page. To Cassie's friends list. Yes, even the ones who'd once liked his couple photos with heart emojis. I didn't scream or embellish. I just laid out the truth, neat and undeniable. The ripple was instant. Within hours, people tagged each other, saying, "Isn't this the same guy who tried to rent us a duplex last summer?" A woman messaged me privately, saying he'd taken $1,200 from her daughter. Another shared that he'd once tried to sell fake tickets for a music festival. Each story layered onto the next until his name was a bonfire on the internet. The second step was pressure. I filed a civil claim in small claims court. It was paperwork heavy, dry, boring, but it created a record. A public docket with his name on it, searchable by anyone. The kind of thing that haunts you in background checks. I sent a copy of the filing to his email and CC'd Cassie. The subject line was simple: the $3,000 lesson. That night, he called me from a new number, his voice jagged with fury. "What the hell are you doing, Meredith? You're ruining my life." I held the phone away, calm. "No, Alex. You did that when you stole mine. I'm just returning the favor." He cursed, threatened, tried to gaslight. "You knew what you were getting into. It was an investment. You backed out." I laughed sharp. "A lease isn't an investment. It's a roof. And you'll never sell one again." Then I hung up. The third step was personal. Cassie. She'd been my friend for years, and watching her cling to him like a lifeline had been almost as painful as losing the money. I sent her everything: the testimonies, the spreadsheet, the court filing. I didn't tell her what to do. I just gave her the truth. 2 days later, she showed up at my door, eyes swollen, suitcase in hand. "You were right," she whispered. "He's gone. He emptied our joint account. I don't know where." "I made tea," she cried. And in that moment, I realized my revenge wasn't just mine. It was hers too. By the end of the month, Alex was nowhere to be found in Portland. Word was he tried running the scam in Seattle, but the Facebook posts had followed him there like ghosts. His name wasn't clean anymore. His scarred thumb was infamous. He couldn't charm his way past Google. And me? I never saw my $3,000 again. But I saw something better. I saw him lose the one thing he valued more than money: his image. His ability to walk into a room and be believed. That was my lesson. $3,000 was the tuition I paid to learn that being careful isn't enough, that trust should be earned, not given, and that when someone tries to write you into their con, you can rewrite the ending. Now, when I walk past Cedar and 18th, I don't feel shame anymore. I feel power. Because that's where I stopped being someone else's mark and started being the author of my own revenge. If you enjoyed this revenge story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from.